All right, hello, welcome to this video. Thank you so much for tuning in and sharing in this now moment with myself and with one another. If you've not seen these videos before, welcome back if you have. My intention is unity and oneness in the highest levels of love light. My intention with this particular video is to break down, or we could say interpret, some of the writings and recorded messages that I've been receiving. I have a tendency to walk and do what I call a walking meditation, in which I record all of the information. I record my dreams. I record many things as I walk. And many people do this. You've watched my videos before. You've seen me do it while I'm driving. And it's basically a threading through of different realities that I am embodying as I come into this stream of consciousness, so to speak. So everything I'm about to share is from my perspective, and as multidimensional and open as I try to be with my perspective, it is still coming through a filter. So much of the information I'm sharing is multidimensional. And so my intention is to plug into these different spaces and to share all of the multidimensional meanings and interpretations that my writings and energy shares bring through to any listeners or readers. So I'm sharing this because it's a little different. There won't be light language. So if you're looking for light language, I invite you to go back and watch one of the other many videos that I've done. And I will be inviting my dear friend Kat to assist me on some of these transmissions, and perhaps some other sisters down the road as well, because we work together and she's been helping me to kind of get a little bit of a ding, 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 ding. Oh yes, that's a great, another perspective to the perspective that I'm already being shown and offered. And that's what this is all about. And I talked about this in my previous video. So I will be reading my blog. This is again in flow, how I would usually do it on these videos, which is just to close my eyes and say it out loud. I did this, recorded it, and now I'll be reading it. And then I'm going to do a video kind of breaking it down as to what the meaning is for those that really want to play and understand how this type of communication works. Because my intention is not just to bring through information, but it's to teach others how to bring through and to articulate, as well as interpret with their own filtration system what messages they are receiving as well. Because I'm not the only one that does this. This is my own style of doing this. And this is how I interpret what I receive, but also how I interpret messages that I receive when I'm doing sessions with other people. And oftentimes when people book sessions with me, if you're a healer or a channel or a psychic or whatever it might be, from that perspective, sometimes it's fun to learn how someone else's process works, because then it just expands our own process. And when I work with someone, I can generally see their process. I can feel what it is they feel or tap into, or see things from my own filtration system and perspective, what it is that they're doing or capable of doing. That's a whole other video. So without further ado, I'm going to read this. This will be a multiple part video. So it's a little bit like a teaching, but also an informative sharing. And there is information in here about the heart, time travel, all kinds of things. And I want to share again, this is from my perspective. I've not read any books on time travel. I'm sure there's people that are very well versed in this. And I'm very fascinated by the subject, but this is not just about that. This is about a lot of other things that are associated with it. So I'll read this out loud, and I'll be sharing my blog post in the next portion after I read this out loud, so you can read it, and I'll break down the paragraphs as to what they mean. Because again, they're multidimensional channels of information talking about what's happening in the cosmos, what's happening in our bodies, what's happening in the social drama that's playing out on a physics or scientific scale, based on a higher vocabulary, yet a simplistic vocabulary as well. So I'm going to pop over to this. I'm not going to share screen yet. You can just listen if you want to. And then when I break it down as far as the layered meanings, I will share the screen so you can view it. So I'm just going to read through, and I'll start from the beginning, just like I would usually do on any of my videos where I go into flow with my messages that come through in real time. And this is real time. So there's an element of surprise in the works, in the elementals, if you will, an unmaking in the making. That which has been tightly bound, wound together, has been completely uplifted, unraveled, if you will, and much sketchy wisdom is being righted. There's a gathering, a coming together, matching wits of witty personalities, so to speak. And this is allowing a higher frequency. A storm front is brewing, a strong front, a strong storm is brewing. As the energies converge, as they build upon each other, there are many gathering forces to create a domination, dominion. And I had to let go of judgment about this message and the words coming through. And as I lead myself into this space of higher knowing, I allow that which is not within my own free flowing adventure, radiant personality complex to pick through different geometries, to pick through which one is most congruent with the messages that need to come through. All of this is micro to macro, social, physical, etc. I am seeing a gathering of great minds and great leaders. I am seeing a pushback happening of shadow adversity. But this shadow adversity is overwhelmed by the university in adversity. That which has been adversarially pressing against this unified matrix of star seeds is coming apart at the seams. We have said this many times before, yet time is tricky in some cases. So, while this has already happened time and time again, there have been rebuttals and other time mechanics that have pulled through, yet somehow managed to keep the time intruders away from the time crusaders, so to speak. Yet the play for power is over. The play for power over time is over. The power play is over. It is time for the play that once held power over the unassuming to be over. It is coming to an end. It is coming to a close. Power is in the play. Let us play. And there are many or certain drawbacks, drawing back, that have created this hierarchical order. But we draw back to a previous time in which none of this was ever a consistency. It was never a consistent drawing pattern, if you will. It was merely a scribble in the dark. And we have grown. We grow forces. We have grown forces, and we foresee. We share in the sea of adversity. For in adversity and diversity, we convulse, pulse, converge, bulge, and divulge. We are bringing through this information in this bulge. We are pushing against that bubble of reality, unreality. So we are writing time, writing time. We are rewriting that which has been written. We are writing like writing waves. We are writing like handwriting. We are writing as in writing out something that was crooked, time waves. We are writing over this particular program that was created to miscreate, to create continuity in the screen, movie screen, to make real the unreal, spelled like movie real. Continuity, gravitational pull of false gravity system. This false gravity system created this false system in general, or they were intricately interwoven in the same storyboard. We all fall down, ring around the rosy. This inverted system has been corrected. It is correcting itself. For that which has fallen has yet to be reborn again. For all is impermanent, all is infinite in infinite impermeations. Everything is changing and fluxing, and that is the way it is. This hard mechanical system could not sustain itself. And in an unsustainable reality system, it then creates a false trapping system. This has been pulled apart in part because many of the beings that were holding it together, that were stuck like glue, are no longer together anymore. They are no longer keeping it together. They are trying to band together in a network of disinformation. They are really confused. They are no longer staying together. This is a false sense of continuity and is countenance. This also has to do with continence. This is also a reflection of false security. This was saying, this is the way things have to be. This is the way things are. This is the structure. But all was not true. So this false sense of continuity has continued to degrade the human species. It was a degradation of force that was mechanically woven in the chain, DNA and protein chains. We move into this form of communication because this is something that will be coming up in future transmissions. For the changes that are upon us will be difficult for some to bear, will be difficult for some to bear witness to. Many have already come to pass. Yet there are many who are currently being overlooked. For the chain of events that are about to rock this world are yet to be deciphered, so to speak. I am seeing a third rock from the sun. I am seeing the rock eater from Neverending Story in a rocking motion. And so we use this mechanics and frameworks, frame words to play with the words, to line up to certain efficiencies, meanings, efficient meanings for the words and the codes that are hidden behind the depths of the knowingness, are used at this point to access a deeper, expansive range of motion. So as we work through this means, so to speak, golden means, a way to a means, meaning, way of accessing, etc., we are now entering into a new hypothecary, play on words, stage of events, the turning of tides, the turning of events, the turning and changing of tides, the changeover involves a mass consciousness propaganda awakening. And for those that are destabilizing the current grid system, there is a transmission of thought. There is a transition of thought. There is a deeper layer of meaning, a deeper layer of knowing. A deeper layer of knowing and meaning is giving birth right now. And those that would change unionship of the divine hierarchy, not to be confused with hierarchy, the divine order of how things should be versus the inorganic order that was created for mass propaganda propagation. There is a higher calling that is coming up and rippling through the bedrock, rockabye. This may be confusing for some have put their chips all in one basket, so to speak. And as the chips fall, those that were, the recall. This is about remembering, recalling people and products are going to be recalled, the great recall. This may have something to do with the companies and ticking time bombs, play on words, by the way. This all sounds worrisome, yet this is nothing that cannot be handled. This is nothing that cannot be accepted. For as people come to accept this as part of the reality that has been overlooked by many, there will be a mass understanding. Many will say, no wonder why. The rippling of ahas that will ripple out after the shock is permeated will be so massive that no one, no stone is left unturned. This is a common theme, the diamond in the rock. This is a difficult subject, in part because there is a linearization in part of the framework in which we are communicating within. There are timeline aspects that are being tapped into. There are political and social aspects, yet on a bigger scale, this is quantum, whole in one. There is a force field in all of this. So the forced field has been let down. All that which has been forced upon the masses is lightening its load. People have been pushing against this pressure, carrying the weight of this force field on them, forced into certain actions and participations. And this has been lifted. So some are left going, what do I do now? Why am I feeling this way? And this is part of the awakening process for this group of people. There is a coat of arms that has been lifted, so to speak, that is playing out in a critical display. There are many factions to be pieced together. We invite you to play with the words, the word tribes, if you will, twining together in certain interlocking patterns that create a referential, referee, a refencing, a referencing, a referral system in which you can band together in certain similar word patterns. As you band together these synchronistic word patterns, you will see a synchronistic patterning coming up. And beneath this layer is a deep, 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 3 layers or deeper layers, understanding of the physics of things, of the quantumness of it all. For if there's a program that all is written from, so to speak, then there would be a baseline frequency in which all of the attachments, connections that are plugged into this baseline creative aspect would tap into. The deeper hum, so to speak, the deeper communication is where this information is coming, humming from. Yet, this is merely the deepest layer of this particular matrix. There are deeper layers, more so, of course, than this particular communication. For we are in a space of communicating about or from a particular matrix theory. For in this dominion, there is a deep underlying reference of the mechanics of reality. This is the mechanics of the reality that is in the process of re-emerging, yet also reinventing itself. So the other realities no longer were accessible. Obviously a reference to time, and we were not in the long wave. We were not in the spectrum divots. We were not in the cohesive space to tap into it. I am tapping into something that was created in the beginning to assist in countering the inverted matrix from one perspective, and it was written based off of the inverted space. So one might say that this other program, modality, methodology is not necessarily as deep as we could go, for it was also a false reality system to counter the false reality system. Like when a bug is in a computer and a program, iOS, created to overwrite it. This was a spelling error, iOS, by the way. We are now beginning to share with you so you may begin to understand all of the false evidence appearing real. This has been created in order to stabilize a particular grid length, like a football field. This grid length that we speak of is now opening into a portal of reality that by definition has no definitive purpose. For you are repurposing the older playing fields and scrambling the technologies in such a way that those that created the false system to begin with are scrambling to regain their technological assertiveness. Yet you have cracked the code. You, as light workers, so to speak, have cracked the code and gone into a deeper space of configuration that is essentially plucking out the nests, so to speak. The time bandits versus the time warriors, like Neo in the Matrix. And I was seeing he jumps in to undo the Matrix, but recognizing both, that one was written, but it all comes from the same place. So that is also a matrix, and it was written, so it could not have come from anything else less than that was a creator. This is one way of looking at it. From a linear aspect, the false program was created to trap beings into believing it was real. And another false system was created to weave into and infiltrate in order to break it down. And it has taken this long for it to truly merge and converge, because it was meant to be played in a living way. Meaning there are many who have come onto this earth to crack the code, so to speak. The egg has been cracked. The reunion has been made, for the false system has been united with the truth of its false system. It's like sister and brother, yin and yang, dark and light from a linear perspective. The light system was created to counter the dark system. They have been weaving together, and the dark has been trying to scramble so that the light could not weave. But it's taken anchor, the light. So now the light has penetrated their matrix, and it is remapping this system. Yet they are coming together. The programmers are struggling to keep control, because once the program is de-scrambled, so to speak, you see it. All the ones and zeros become available to all. Everyone sees the glitches. There is a very linear presentation here of one version of one of the realities that we are all connecting into from one perspective, should we choose to. There are many versions of these realities. This is merely one of the illusions that was created to source a particular energy and wombat. For this has allowed a greater source of playing, if you will. And while the fear and destruction has been created with this particular time band and all the time bandits that robbed particular entities and beings from their freedoms, this is not true either, but it is a representation that is also being cleaned out, orthoscopically cleaned out. So while we delve into this false illusion, we also recognize it is real to many, and the reality that they have been illusorily playing in, this is a play on words, is remapping itself. So with patience and foresight, with the ability to see past the fog, so to speak, thank you, Candace, with the ability to see past the expression of temporary magnification of this system, seeing a spider and holographic robots, and I was seeing false wars and propagating propaganda. So much disorderly conduct will be seen by many for what it is to such a level that many will reach into their ambient nature in order to check out and clock out or go into shock. Yet that will be their survival mechanism. And in actuality, it could help them to process things when they are ready to process them. We invite you not to feed into any mass propaganda in any way, shape, or form, in any wave, shape, or form, for it is an attempt at a hostile takeover to diffuse what has already been a ticking time bomb. This is a play on words, like it was meant to, well, I'll get back to that later. Kat and I were playing the other day. Thank you, Kat. I just want to get in and pull it apart. They are trying to diffuse the time, but in reality, we have already blown it out of the water and it has already been diffused. It is not going to work, although they can extend it, so to speak, but they only have a certain number of extensions left on the clock, for their time is up, football. Their clock has ticked its last tick, too, so to speak. Their dance card is full. They have too many things to focus on. Time is on our side now because we have taken it back. Play on words. We invite you not to be taken aback by what you are about to witness. For as you allow yourself to unfold from this false sense of security and fold back into your own higher capacity for higher wisdom, truth, and knowledge, this will then bring up your own sense of security, not based on the projections of others, not based on the false assumptions and false sense of power that has been held over you time and time again. This freedom comes with a sense of security as a human being now, with a purpose, mission fulfilled, if you will. For you have already filled all of the cracks with the light, therefore cracking apart that which might be used to dissuade, to dismay, to create dismay and falsities. And the light is one with the dusk, the dawn, the light, recognizing that the deeper layer behind with and in all of this is deeper than the false matrix. There is a bigger all encompassing energy that is essentially celebrating this adventure that is now coming to a close. Getting emotional. And this sense of adventure, many have felt disillusioned by, will be coming to a close. And we are taking our last bow, so to speak. As we reform, as we wrap things up, we allow ourselves to step away from the false illusions of idiocracies and false synchronicities as we step back into our higher advancements, meaning, higher spaciousness, and love. So I'm going to end on that note. This is just meant to kind of talk about this in the beginning so you can go and read this. I'll start off kind of breaking out a few little things. And then I'm going to go into a second video with much more in-depth about this. The reason I'm going to be relabeling this, there's a lot of spell checks. This vastness of this, it's at first I was listening to it, what I wrote, and I was like, oh, this is kind of scary, but it isn't. It's a celebration, because as everything falls apart, we start to see who we really are and what's been hidden from us and what we've bought into. I did another blog I haven't posted yet. I'm going to be posting that tomorrow. That's in alignment with this. If you go up to my blog before I do the video with my friend Kat and we break this down a little bit, you can look at some of the links I provided. I provided some links. I think I mixed my blogs up, but they're kind of combining together. I just want to go into what wombat is because I know it's such a weird word. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hit share screen. I'm going to pause this just for a moment. I'm going to hit share screen briefly, and I'm going into wombat. I heard the word wombat code. And so if I go back to look at what I wrote with the wombat code, and this is the one thing I'll break down, and then I'll go back into a lot of other stuff. I don't watch football. My friend Kat was like, if you watch football, I see what they're talking about here. A lot about rewriting programs. And I'll say this in a nutshell, and then I'll go back in and break this down. I think I skipped the part. Oh no, I said never ending story, rock this world. Guys, there's a lot of stuff that's going to be happening. We can handle this. We've got this. It's weird and wacky stuff, but it's normal. I told you I wrote iOS. I don't know much about computers. Here's the wombat. There are many versions of these realities. This is merely one of the illusions that was created to source a particular energy and wombat. Now, I heard wombat code. And so I'm going into this. This is wombat code, simulations of radio bright plasmas. It has to do with supercomputers, and I'll be looking at this a little deeper. Reveals mysterious, diffuse radio sources in clusters, unexplored low radio frequencies, interpretation of observations, numerical simulations of cosmic structure formation, including turbulence, magnetic fields, and cosmic rays, are key to understanding the complex dynamics in clusters, filaments, and large-scale structures. It says they are building a novel numerical approach to this problem, combining highly accurate methods for gravity and magnetized fluids with cutting-edge technology and high-performance computing. Now, if I go back and I say that the gravity systems that we have been taught are not real, they're false, where are these projections coming from and how accurate are they really? And where is that, what is it that they haven't been telling us? And I think a lot of that, I talked about this, I was seeing, and I'm going to end on this note, we'll come into this a little deeper. Obviously, I'm not a scientist in this presentation, and I'm just tapping into my own supercomputer, which we all have, which taps into everything: angelic, guides, ninth dimensional beings, 10th dimensional beings, and beyond, the jellyfish beings, the sound, the rays, the circles of the spheres, all of it. There's so much. It's vast and infinite. And some of this is artificial intelligence that was created. So all of it's working together from one aspect. And that which hasn't been working together for the greater good of the whole has basically eaten its own tail. That's the other blog that I'll go into. So I'm kind of combining these two, the messages. It cannot support itself. Something cannot keep consuming itself and be in an infinite reality and be continually finite. It starts to shrink and shrink and shrink until there is no more, and it poof goes away. And that's essentially what we're seeing. When I look at this, I kind of lost my train of thought. Squirrel, wombat. Wombats are actually really cute, by the way. What's happening is if all of this is not accurate and we have this piece of information that comes out and it's just like, well, if that's not real, what else isn't real? I was shown a laboratory, like if you picture a labyrinth, excuse me, and picture yourself in a labyrinth. And on the other side of the wall is your counterpart or a friend or a family member or somebody that's passed on. And I'm going to say from a linear perspective, it's the shadow people or the reptilians. I've gotten messages that the reptilian consciousness cannot hold this frequency. And that's again the next blog video post that I read out loud. But having said that, all of a sudden, that's been removed. There is no labyrinth. I was shown a buckyball, and the buckyball isn't in the same alignment. It's not aligning with these old portal systems anymore. And those portal systems have essentially collapsed. And so we as light workers are creating new portal systems that you can't get through unless you're in a certain vibrational match. And that isn't a hierarchy. It is just the way it is. It isn't like, haha, you can't get here because we're better than you. It's, look, you can do this too, but you aren't needing to be in a place of ego and anger and destruction anymore. So if you want to go here, we're working together to raise that frequency so you can fit through. It's like the dreams I was having a month ago of taking that luggage with us. We can't squeeze through these portals, holding on to all that crap, holding on to all of that baggage, holding on to certain beliefs and ideas about what reality really is when it doesn't fit in the new architecture anymore. It doesn't fit in the new dynamics. It doesn't work. So we are reworking, rewriting, rewiring the system. And again, I'll break down all of this so that we can look at the plays on words. And last but not least, this labyrinth now has collapsed. There's a few walls, pieces of the labyrinth, and I tried to draw this on my whiteboard, but I couldn't get the camera all set up. Fell over. Anyways, so you picture these walls or dominoes. Picture all of the walls in a labyrinth and visualize all of the walls are made of dominoes. Right? Click, 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 click. So the dominoes have collapsed, but there's still one domino standing here and then a domino here that way and a domino over here. So there's still pieces that are left that are essentially holding up the foundation of our reality right now from the old matrix. I'm using matrix because it's a very easy word to visualize, like a crystal lattice system, right? So what I was shown is there are beings who see all of a sudden the wall collapses and they're like, holy moly, it was right there the whole time. Then there's other people, if you step just 5 feet to the right where that piece of the wall was left standing, they can't see. They don't know to look left and they don't know to look right. They're still beating up against this wall. And then I was shown all these minions behind the wall. Okay, I'm hearing it's a stage collapse. If you guys ever worked on a set or seen a play, I'm sure you have, and you've got the wall and that's your background stage and it falls over and you see behind it all of the people go scattering to put the wall back up because it's not good, you know, you can see that it's fake. That's exactly what I'm being shown. So we're seeing all the scattering and all of the stuff that's going on the other side. A lot of us are, and a lot of people aren't. They're still seeing the other side. So what I was shown is that there's a lot of beings scrambling to put up scaffolding to hold up the remnants as long as they can. And that's extending the time board. But their time, it's a ticking time bomb. It's set to implode and they can't salvage it. But they don't realize that yet. Some do. And some are like, now what do I do? Some beings have been forced into this and they're not being forced anymore because the people that once had their finger on them to force them to do certain things are too busy working on the scaffolding, if that makes sense. And so some of the beings who've been under this control in this old dominion or domination are like, I can move now. I can speak my truth. You guys aren't, what's going on? And that may be all they've known. They may not know what to do because they grew up being in that environment, or they've been under somebody's thumb for so long that they've never been free. And that again is my next video. But I'm going to break this down. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is some of the information I've been receiving. The time travel, okay, briefly, and because I'll save this for the next video. What I was shown is, because I did mention that, I never talked about it. I was shown essentially, oh, the portals. I did kind of talk about that. You can't get through the portals anymore. So people that were escaping out of these time travel mechanics, the numbers aren't adding up. So it used to be they'd go at light speed and poof, they'd be gone. Now they're pushing the button and nothing's happening because time doesn't work in the same way anymore. That's it in a nutshell. So we'll play with that a little bit later. In love and light, guys, thank you so much for tuning in and joining me in this presentation, because this is fun for me. This is my creative flow. This is how I'm out creating. So I invite you guys to do your own version of out creating the old reality system, because it's already been done. Now it's time to play. The power is in the play. And I keep saying I'm going to end on that note, but the power is in play, being playful, finding your inner child. The old power was in that stage, was in that backdrop, was in the green screen. The power of the play and the presentation and our belief in it. Now the power has flipped to our playfulness. And we're just like, hey, I'm going to create this. And that's empowering even those that were part of the old energy to come play with us. And then they can go, I don't want to play in that anymore. And we're like, hey, here you go. Here's your opportunity to do good deeds, to have fun, to love one another, right? To write RIGHT, that which was false, or to write over WRITE, that which was false. Okay. So I'll end on that note. Thanks so much for tuning in. In love and light, guys. Namaste. Video number 1.